You may ask what a mobile phone has in common with a LiPo battery and an FPV screen. Apparently nothing, and we can throw in also a quadcopter. So it's not about these devices, but actually about these boxes which came from OnePaa, and you should check them out, onepaa.com. And inside we have a special camera, which is the OnePaa X2000, and it's a FPV dedicated camera, but it's also a dash camera or an action camera and so on. So it's a versatile camera, but this was made with FPV and drones in mind, so it has a lot of optimizations and hardware dedicated for that. So stay on with me in this review, and I'm going to show you an awesome device. If you are into FPV racing or just have a quad that it's easy to fly and does not have a camera, you may find yourself in the situation where a camera with this form factor, a GoPro form factor, it's too large for your quad to carry. It's heavy and it doesn't have a streamlined design, and on a smaller quad it will look a bit stupid, and it's very hard to carry it, and also to have a way of fixing it on here, and also to prevent vibrations. And you can see the landing gear is too small and so on. So another kind of camera format is preferred, and it's this format. As you can see, it's very small and it will fit in various situations, and it can also be used in quads that don't have a camera. This one can be easily strapped on here, and it will not interfere with the quad landing gear, and it will bring you camera capability, and not only camera capability, but also you can have FPV from it, as this camera has FPV output and a lot more goodies, which I'm going to show you right now. The OnePaa X2000 camera comes with a lot of accessories, and I'm going to show them to you right now. So beside the camera you get this odd looking thing, which is wireless dongle, because this is a camera that can be used on a quad, and most quads and airplanes and drones use Wi-Fi frequency. Actually, you don't want to have a Wi-Fi device on your flying aircraft, because it can jam your control and you may end up in a crash with it. So the wireless, it's a separate device, and when you need to configure the camera or check the settings from it, you just plug it in. You have Wi-Fi connectivity, you can do your settings, and after that you take the wireless out and the camera will be safe for your aircraft. And you also remove additional weight, because you do not want to have wireless device inside the camera to carry it around and turn it off, because it's unsafe for your device, for your flying device. So take what's not needed out and use the camera. Right, so besides the wireless card, you get a small bag of accessories. Actually it's a small back box of accessories, and now the box is empty. And you get first an English manual, which has very good English. It's easy to read, and it also has Chinese on this side, but the English instructions, although not a lot, are very useful, and it's almost all that you need to put it in an aircraft and to set it up. And let's move on to what we get. So this is a FPV cable, which is pre-labeled with colors. You have transmitter, video, RX, TX, so you get all the wires already labeled. Here we have foam pads, insulation pads of various thickness, you can see, and they are double-sided adhesive pads. So we get a thin one, a medium one, and a thick one. We get insulation dampers, rubber silicone dampers. We get a small sun hood and a tripod adapter, so you can put this on to avoid lens glare, which is very nice. This is a clip-on add-on, so it goes like this. Yes, it's also foolproof, so you cannot put it backwards, and it's like this. Right, I'm gonna take it off, and this is a tripod mount, so you can use other fixing devices. You also get this type of plates, which can be this one can be fixed to your aircraft. Use the insulators like this, and this will go on like this, and the camera will clip on here, so you can have a quick mount. You also get a mini USB cable. It's a mini, not a micro, because this has a lot more pins, and also a velcro strap and frame, a docking frame, which goes like this, and the camera can be either connected to this slide like this, or you can use it as a fixing device for your aircraft, right? And another simple cable. This is just power on the camera, 5 volts and ground. This will supply power to the camera from the aircraft battery if you need to, and you can take this apart and remove its battery to save on weight. And if we talk about weight, let's see how heavy it is. And it has 42 grams with the battery inside, which is very good. It's very light, so this is a big plus for it. These were only half of the goodies, because here we have another box in which we get another small manual. Actually, it's a data sheet full of specifications of another device which looks like this, and this is actually a cradle for the camera that brings FPV transmission right out of the box, and you are not going to need a special video transmitter and need to put wires and connectors and so on. You're just going to plug in the camera like this and like this. So the camera is now connected into this cradle. You put the antenna on. It's very important, not only for this but for all kinds of video transmitters. Always install antenna first and then power them on, because if you power them on without antenna, you are going to burn them. And we get this nice looking cable which has silicone soft wires, and we plug this in like this. And if we look here, we have power input, which can be from 7 volts to 20 volts, and we also get a bonus of regulated 5 volts if we need them, and a second video in and ground, and they look like this. Right, so here comes in the LiPo, which I showed you earlier. So if I power this on, we get pretty lights, pretty lights, and the transmitter is now on. The camera is charging, and if I press this button, the camera has started. You may ask, why does it have these bright lights here? They are not only status lights for the camera, but this kind of camera and this kind of adapter are mostly used for, in this position, actually hanging from your quad like this, and they will turn into quad lights, so you will see your quad better and you will know what your camera is doing if you are not using FPV. So these are also signal lights. And now let's take a look at the FPV screen. I'm gonna power it on, and let's see if we match the frequencies. The Cradle has 5 main channels with 8 frequencies, so this means a total of 40 channels. And if you have a small button here, if you press it once, the frequency here will change, and you can see that by the color of the LEDs that change, and we should find a frequency. And to change the channel, you need to keep the button pressed a few seconds, and it had to move on channel 2, and surprise surprise, we have image on the FPV screen. You may ask, how do you set the settings of this camera? Well, it's very easy. Now that we have image from it, we just press the mode button here, which takes us in photo mode, and if we press it again, it's in the menu. We have 2 arrows here. Let me show you. Here up and down, or left and right, we have this mode button and this button here. And with right key or left key, which is up and down, we can move into the menu, and we have access to all the settings using FPV transmitter. Actually, all the video from this camera is now transmitted wirelessly into this FPV monitor. So you can set this camera kind of remotely, as I don't need a PC, I don't even need a smartphone. If I'm on the field, I just have a FPV monitor and a FPV camera. I don't have to complicate things. Right, so I'm going to close my camera to the monitor to show you all the settings. First we have the resolution, and this camera can go up to 2K resolution, and it also has full HD 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second in 720p, and we can go up to 240 frames per second for slow motion, but the resolution will drop. Alright, so I'm going to select 60 frames per second. We have loop recording. We all know what this does. We have an option to toggle FOV, field of view. So we have wide, narrow. I'm gonna let it off. This will make a cropping. Wide dynamic range. This will improve contrast in some situations. And what's interesting about this camera is that it has a gyro sensor, which will stabilize the image. This is useful if you want to use the camera for aerial videos, not especially for racing. This will remove part of the jello effect or quad shaking. On audio, we have option to turn off the sound. You can turn on or off date stamping. TV mode, you can select the standard. Right. Let's go back. OSD mode you can enable or disable on screen display. Video lapse, you can select its interval. Slow motion video, you can make slow motion video directly using the camera without needing editing software. Video file format, you can select the video container. Image size, this is for taking still pictures. Quality for pictures. Capture mode, this is single shot, 2-second timer, so you can introduce a delay for taking pictures. Burst mode, you can take several pictures with one push. Here you can set date and time. You can set auto power off in case the camera is idle. Frequency is for your light source to reduce flickering. You have an option to rotate the image up and down depending on how you mount the camera on your quad. Language, and this camera supports a lot of languages, as you can see. I'm going to let it in English. Here you can delete files from the SD card, you can format it, you can set the camera to defaults, and if we go on version, here is the model. As you can see, it's version 1 of the firmware, which is an initial release, and it's a very actual product. You can see it's very new. And for now, those are the settings available to the menu, and pressing the mode button will cycle the camera through video mode and still photos, and of course the settings, and all that from this small device, which will bring FPV to your quad very easily. Now I'm going to power off the camera, and it's now off. I'm going to disconnect the transmitter. The transmitter also has a power regulator inside, so it will charge the camera, so you don't have to use a dedicated circuit for that, which is another plus. Now I'm going to take it out of the docking. It's easy like that, and I'm going to test the wireless connectivity. I'm going to insert the wireless card into it. I'm gonna power on the camera. You can see this is now powered, and to enable wireless, you have to keep this button pressed a bit, and now it's in pairing mode, and I'm going to connect my phone to it. Wireless is now connected. The password is 12345678, classical, and I have downloaded the OnePaa app from the Android market, and I'm going to click on connect your camera. It's connecting, and it's now connected. As you can see, we have live image from the camera, and it doesn't look bad at all. There we go. You can see the image is already rotated, as this camera is intended to stay with LEDs down to signal its status and to make your quad more visible. With the app you have general settings. It will show you the battery level, and if you can click on this key here, you have practically here all the main options that you can set from the camera, like video resolution, cyclic record, wide, dynamic range, and so on. It's the full menu here. Even the time-lapse, photo-lapse options are here. It's very easy to set the camera from your mobile phone using this key here. You have a lot of convenience with it. either Wi-Fi or FPV, what comes more easy for you, you can use it. And you can also browse the photos and videos recorded here. You can share them and so on. You can control the camera, start recording, stop recording, and so on. So the apps work and it's easy to use, nothing too complicated here. And you can create an album and so on. So the Wi-Fi not only works, but it's very easy to use, and I really like this idea that you not only disable the wireless, but you take it out of the camera to make it light. So this was just part 1 of my review of the OnePaa X2000 camera. This was about it and its accessories and how easy it is to operate, and most of its settings and menu is now presented. I'm going to of course use it to capture videos with it from my quads and maybe from my car and so on. And I'm going to do a part 2 with this camera and with various footage in various conditions with it, so you will judge its video quality then. Until then, and next time, see you, bye bye.